Hello friends. Now I am standing in front of a large concrete wall 20 centimeters thick, and the sun heats it up so much that in the evening the heat accumulated by the wall can be felt even here, at a distance of about 2 meters from the wall, and maybe someday I'll do an experiment on how to use this thermal energy to heat the water of this pool. It is obvious that similar walls of houses made of concrete or stone are also heated by the sun, and their thermal energy heats the houses at night, and this is a very old method of home heating which was widely used in ancient Rome, and today similar houses with southern walls made of stone, brick or clay can be found in many countries. You can calculate that these 50 square meters of wall will absorb almost 200 kilowatt-hours of solar radiation during one perfectly sunny day, and this energy is enough to heat the entire house not only during the approaching night, but also for the following 2 cloudy days and nights. Unfortunately, the house will receive less than 10% of this thermal energy, which is enough for heating the house only in the evening, but at night we will feel that the wall has become cold, and this means that it has stopped heating the house. But my video will describe several methods on how to solve this problem and radically improve that percentage. The second problem is that our walls should not have any thermal insulation so that they can accumulate solar radiation well and transfer its energy into rooms. That is why this method of home heating is popular only in regions with warm winters, while cold winters turn this wall into a huge hole of heat leaks, which significantly increases heating costs. Later I will show methods that radically reduce this problem and therefore allow us to use home heating with the solar concrete walls in northern countries, but for now let's try to understand why a concrete wall loses more than 90% of the solar energy. At the end of the night, the temperature of this inner layer of the wall is slightly lower than the room air temperature, and the temperature of this outer layer is slightly higher than the ambient air temperature. The morning sun begins to heat up this outer layer of the wall, and this heating causes the cold concrete to gradually fill with the thermal energy, but unfortunately this hot outer layer transfers a lot of heat to the cold surrounding air. In the afternoon, the solar energy completely fills the outer and middle part of the wall, and therefore the solar heat begins to reach this inner layer of the wall, which leads to a gradual increase in the temperature of the inner layer and an increase in this heating effect. After sunset, the temperature of this outer layer of the wall decreases, but these large heat losses to the outside continue because the outer layer is warmer than the surrounding air. In the evening, this flow of heat into the house is radically less than this flow of heat out because the outside air is noticeably colder than the room air. Please note that the maximum temperature is currently here, in the middle of the wall. That is why we might come up with the idea of using similar air ducts in the concrete wall so that the room air circulates through the ducts and is heated by the warm concrete, which leads to an increase in that percentage and allows us to control the power of the home heating from the wall. But let's continue to observe what happens at night in the absence of those air ducts, and you will see that a few hours later the temperature of this maximum will decrease below 20 degrees. That is why this flow of heat into the room is replaced by these heat losses from the room to the outside, and the losses will gradually increase until the morning. Interestingly, these heat losses will be radically less in the case of those air ducts because we get the right to install thermal insulation here on the condition that the heat transfer from the wall into the room will be carried out only through those ducts. Let's make some more inventions but without these air ducts, and let's place this layer of thermal insulation not inside the house, but here, inside the wall, between these two layers of concrete. On the one hand, this thermal insulation also radically reduces these nighttime heat losses, but on the other hand, the same thermal insulation stops this transfer of solar energy to the room, and therefore our main task is to complement the wall structure with something that will transfer the solar energy from the outer layer of concrete to the inner layer. This is one of the solutions to the problem. A pump ensures water circulation through these pipes if the sun heats the outer layer of concrete above 20 degrees Celsius. Obviously the water is heated here, and then the warm water heats the inner layer of concrete to 25 or 30 degrees so that the warm concrete heats the house at night, and the pump stops the circulation if this outer layer of concrete becomes colder than the inner layer. Another solution to the problem is to add these thick plastic tubes filled with water. We can predict the occurrence of this water convection when the sun increases the temperature of this outer layer of concrete above 20 degrees Celsius, that is above the temperature of this inner layer. It is obvious that this convection quickly transfers the heat from the outer layer to the inner concrete layer. But the convection stops when the outer layer becomes colder than the inner layer, and therefore the tubes do not interfere with the thermal insulation that stops those nighttime heat leaks. Of course, we know about traditional methods of improving the heating from the southern wall of a house, and for example, many of us know that a wall can be covered with 1 or 2 layers of glass. This solution is called by this term, and I plan that my next video can be entirely dedicated to such glazed walls. The second traditional solution is to temporarily insulate a wall in the evening and remove the thermal insulation in the morning, and this solution also requires a description in one of the future videos. The third solution involves using cheap mirrors, and this is my favorite topic because I have done a lot of experiments with various mirror systems. Such cheap mirrors can increase the solar radiation fluxes up to 2 or 3 times, allowing large south-facing walls to completely heat a house anywhere in America, except Alaska and northern Canada, and these solutions will be the topics of my future videos.